Hi, everybody. It's Miriam Siegel from the Center for Mastery and Excellence. I thought I'd jump on and just talk a little bit about what Jimmy Fallon and I have in common. What do Jimmy Fallon and I have in common? Well, it turns out we both got lost in Germany. Not at the same time, but we both got lost in Germany. And I was watching a video clip where Jimmy Fallon talks about his experience and explains about how he got lost and how he solved the challenge of getting lost. And I noticed that it was quite a different experience from my experience. And I thought I'd say a little bit about that because when I talk about the CEA method, I talk about the part of the CEA method that has to do with embody. So CEA method is conceive, embody, achieve. So what about this embodiment part? Well, it'll become clear when I tell a little bit more about Jimmy Fallon and me. Jimmy Fallon got lost in Germany, in Bavaria. He was on vacation. And he only had about, I hope I'm telling this approximately right, he only had about 3% battery left on his cell phone. And so he put it in his GPS where the hotel was. And he needed to get back to the hotel. And it said it would take about an hour for him to get back. So he decided to cut across a field. And so he did that. And he's wearing shorts. And at one point he gets to a part of the field where the grass is pretty much taller than him. And he realizes that he can't go any farther, or it's not a good idea when he's wearing shorts. So he turns around and goes back and tries to find another solution. And as he's walking and walking and looking, he comes across a young fellow. And he asks the young fellow to help him explain how to get back to his hotel. And the young fellow tells him, you have to climb over this fence, and then you have to cross this field, and then you have to climb over another fence. So then as Jimmy Fallon turns to start climbing over the first fence, the young fellow says, you look like Jimmy Fallon. And then Jimmy Fallon says, I am Jimmy Fallon. So the young fellow wants to take a selfie with him, which they do. And then Jimmy Fallon asks him, can you take me back to my hotel? Can you drive me to my hotel? And the young fellow says, no, I can't. I don't have my license, but my mom can drive you. So they go in, and the young fellow has to convince his mother that Jimmy Fallon is a safe person. He's actually famous, et cetera, et cetera. And the mother ends up driving them back to his hotel. And Jimmy takes a video of them in the car with the top down, the radio is blasting, and they're singing away on their way back to his hotel. And as I'm listening to Jimmy Fallon tell this story, I'm thinking, he had his cell phone with him. He had some battery left. He's a well-known person, and he is a man of means, we'll put it that way. Why didn't he just call the hotel and ask them to come pick him up? Or maybe they could send a cab, or I don't know, he's in a small town in Bavaria. I don't know what it's like there. And maybe he was looking for a good story. I have no idea. I'm not going to speak on his behalf in that respect. But I did get curious about why not just call the hotel and get somebody to come. When I got lost in Germany, I didn't have a cell phone. It was my lunch break. I was there for a course. It was a small town. And I just thought I'd have a look around. And I wandered around for about an hour. And I enjoyed the architecture. And at one point, I looked at my watch and I saw that I had to get back to my hotel within half an hour to make it in time for the course to start. I didn't want to miss anything. I had no idea where I was, no idea how to get back to the hotel. I considered knocking on somebody's door. I didn't speak the language, but I thought I could maybe show them the address and they could draw me a map or something like that. I decided instead to just trust that I would find a way. Being in connection with the universe and feeling my own body and just knowing. Jimmy Fallon, when he tells his story in the video clip, he talks about almost being at the point of tears. He just wants to get back to his hotel. I felt nothing like that. There was no fear. There was no frustration. There was no worry. And though I knew I needed to get back to the hotel in time for my class, I didn't really have any doubt. There was no problem connected to it. And what I did was I walked to the first corner of the street I was on, and then I just asked, which way? I stood still and just allowed a feeling to come. And I noticed that my body turned in a certain direction. And so I went in that direction. And when I came to the next corner, I asked the same question, which way? And then I just allowed the response to come into my body. And then I went in that direction, whether it was to the left or the right or straight forward. Every single corner I went to, I did the same thing. Which way? And at a certain point, I noticed coming towards a hill. And when I looked a bit farther in the distance, I could see a larger building. It turns out it was the back of the hotel. I had never been there. I'd never gone out the back. But I'd managed to be guided. And just by using my, I guess you could call it intuition and my connection with my body, I'd managed to find my way back. I'd gotten to the back side of the hotel, so I just went around. I knew where I was when I saw it. And so I went around to the front of the hotel and went in the entrance. And I got to my class on time. And the whole time just feeling this incredible presence. No concern, just safety. So I think about Jimmy Fallon and the incredible attention to using his wits. And he's a very talented man. And I like the way he tells the story. He kept his wits about him, looking for solutions. My impression is, and again, I cannot speak for Jimmy Fallon, is that he was somewhat in his head, as we often talk about, in his mind. What I did differently, as far as I understand it, was allowing my body to inform my mind. So my mind chose to listen to my body. I chose to stay with the sensations and just allow them to guide me. So there was no tears, there was no frustration or fear. It was just knowing. So, though we both got lost in Germany, we found very, very different ways of finding our way back. And I invite you to test that, to play with that, to notice your sensations. And maybe you don't understand what they are. You don't have to understand. And sometimes the very impulse of wanting to understand and trying to understand can get in the way of the real knowing. So I invite you to notice the sensations in your body as information, not necessarily assuming that they're telling you something about something wrong. They're just information. And then allowing yourself that knowledge to come up. Instead of having your mind decide where to go, having your body inform you, inform your mind, and allowing yourself to test that out. What if I go in that direction even though I don't know? Because at no time was I certain that it was the right way in my head. Just trusting that I know what I need to know and it will get me there. I will get me there. So, though we found ourselves in similar situations and we did find solutions and we got back to our hotels, there were very different ways of doing it. So check it out and see what it's like. And if you would like, let me know, share some of your experiences. Thanks for listening.